viruses caused many websites and apps to be unusable to millions of people on Monday. We'll discuss this and more on today's Top Stories. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also be joined by Raheel Ramzanali, formerly of ESPN Radio and CityCast Houston, who joins us to discuss the new Rocket season, which starts tonight.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. Plus, we'll also talk with Colton Berry, founding artistic director of Art Factory, who will tell us more about their annual production of the Rocky Horror Show.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Vice President J.D. Vance is meeting with Israeli leaders. He and other top envoys from the U.S. are in the region to help shore up the fragile Israel-Hamas ceasefire that Washington recently brokered. Their visit follows violence over the weekend that threatened to derail the truce.
Every time something bad happens, and every time that there's an act of violence, there's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire. This is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time. We are doing very well. We are in a very good place. We're going to have to keep working on it, but I think we have the team to do exactly that.
The parties are focused on the second phase of the ceasefire. It includes Hamas disarmament, Israeli troop withdrawals, and an interim government in Gaza. A federal judge in Chicago is ordering the Trump administration's top Border Patrol official to be deposed in a lawsuit over the treatment of immigration protesters. Michael Puente of member station WBEZ reports.
Gregory Bovino, the U.S. Border Patrol commander at large, and two other federal officials will have to answer questions about tactics used for the so-called Operation Midway Blitz. District Judge Sarah Ellis heard testimony Monday on whether ICE and Border Patrol agents are complying with her temporary restraining order issued October 9th, prohibiting the targeting of protesters and the press during demonstrations. Ellis called for the hearing because she had concerns over recent confrontations where tear gas was used without warning to the public. Another hearing is set for early next month. For NPR News, I'm Michael Puente in Chicago.
Former FBI Director James Comey is asking a judge to throw out the false statement case against him. Comey's among President Trump's most outspoken critics, and as NPR's Carrie Johnson tells us, Comey alleges he's being unfairly targeted.
President Trump fired Comey as the FBI director in 2017, and Comey went on to become a fierce critic. The Justice Department won an indictment against Comey for allegedly misleading and obstructing Congress under pressure from Trump, who's called him a dirty cop and a slime ball. Now Comey's moving to dismiss the case because he says it's a vindictive or selective prosecution. He says at least 4 top officials during President Trump's first term allegedly lied to Congress, and none of them was charged with any crimes. The president's animus against Comey's so intense that the Justice Department recently fired Comey's daughter without any clear reason. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow was up 328 points, or roughly 0.75% at 47,035. The S&P gained 8. The Nasdaq was off 20 points. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Less than 2 weeks ago, the Harris County Tax Office had a backlog of over 21,000 pending voter registration applications. But as News 88.7's Kyle McClinigan reports, as of Monday, that backlog is now down to just 73 applications.
According to the county's tax assessor collector, Annette Ramirez, the backlog was due to an error with the state's new election administration management software.
Our largest hurdle with their system was the waiting for what we call pending state verifications. Those files coming back to us verifying that they're active voters. At its peak, we were pending 29,900 and some change voter registration applications to come back.
The Secretary of State's office says the issue may have been caused in part by Harris County's third-party software provider going out of business. However, the county disputes this. Travis County also experienced a backlog issue and did not use a third-party software. With early voting underway, Harris County residents can use the Tax Assessor Collector's Office website to check their registration. I'm Kyle McClinigan, News 88.7.
The Environmental Protection Agency has issued final permits to ExxonMobil for an underground carbon capture project planned in Jefferson County near Beaumont. The Class 4 well permits will allow the company to convert existing test wells into long-term storage for the greenhouse gas carbon dioxide. That strategy is a key part of carbon capture and storage technology championed by the oil and gas industry as a way to reduce emissions. Critics say the technology is risky and difficult to implement at scale. As the federal government shutdown continues, at the center of the debate is whether to keep enhanced premium tax credits for people enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. Those credits are set to expire at the end of the year. If they do, health insurance costs could more than double for millions of Texans. If you're currently enrolled in the ACA, Houston Public Media wants to hear from you. Share your thoughts or send us a voice memo at houstonpublicmedia.org/ACA. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include BetterHelp, committed to helping clients with issues ranging from relationship challenges and goal setting to grief and depression. Learn more at betterhelp.com/public. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. What's the date?
October 21st.
Nice.
That's
There
right.
we go.
Here we go.
Remember, the 22nd of every month is when I'm like on a high.
That's right. It's your number.
And the 8th is always when I'm on a low. So I don't know. Don't ask me about those kind of things. That's what happens with me.
It's your cycle.
It's my cycle. It is.
What's I heard? Long ago, we had a teacher, I think in the university.
We share so much.
Who talked
This took
about.
a turn. I was not
We
expecting.
all know women have a cycle, but
Yes.
men do too. And that we don't pay attention to it because it doesn't have the physical effects that the
Right.
female cycle does, but that our emotions move and change with
You know, you got to stay away from Scientific American. It's.
That's where you get your health knowledge, right here.
I do think that's probably true.
It is.
That men have cycles.
And that's because you're just saying it too. You know, you have certain periods of the month where it's
Yes.
the days are more challenging to you, and others where it's easier.
Yeah. Well, I call it funk. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
I'm
you're
in a funk.
When you're in a funk.
Totally.
And I'm never in a funk on the 22nd. I'm always excited. The 21st, 22nd, 23rd.
So you know what you're getting today
I
from
can't
Frank.
wait to ask Dan. Dan, are you on your?
Oh,
If you haven't figured it out
Anyway.
after, 14 years, then.
14 years. Yikes.
Yeah, but the kids probably know.
Oh, yeah.
The kids probably
do
know when mommy and daddy are in a bad mood.
1,000%.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, don't ask mommy and daddy today.
Oh, no.
By the way, Tropical Storm Melissa formed
Yes.
today, our 13th system of the season.
Yeah.
That's named. And it'll probably hang out in the Caribbean, become a hurricane, go over Haiti and the Dominican Republic, cause a lot of landslides and flooding, which they don't need, unfortunately, and then head out to sea. So it's not our issue. But it just shows you that things are always
Something's out
active.
there.
In
Something
fact,
could
we have a
happen.
cold front coming through right now. I wouldn't call it cold, but it's going to change the wind direction to be out of the north again. Ahead of the front, a lot of people don't know this, there's a southwest wind, and it can mix a little bit with the southeast wind. So it's always warm ahead of a front, warmer, relatively speaking. Like this morning was warmer than yesterday morning. You run, you know.
Yeah.
And but tomorrow, now the front will be by, and so it'll be back to being kind of cool in the morning.
Oh, that'll be beautiful.
I love it when it
And
starts to
especially
get cold.
that is such great news because there are so many runners here in Houston that have to run through the summer and are just it's a beating. It is brutal. And then we get those cool fronts that come in, even if it is just degrees in a slight difference, you feel it. And then all of a sudden you feel like you can run for miles and you're like, I should be in the Olympics.
When
You know,
the
that
show
kind-
was starting up, Frank was always talking about going to play pickleball. And as we've had more work, Frank's pickleballed less. You, Celeste,
That's
were
right.
always running. Are you running less now?
I
don't
am
hear
running.
about it
Since,
as much,
since
yeah.
the show started, I have been running less. I think that for me, it's very therapeutic to run. But, since we've started with the show, it's just been, things have been busy.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit harder.
See, I didn't do anything before the show,
So
and I'm
you've
still
missed
doing
nothing.
nothing. So everything is fine
missed
for
nothing.
me. Last night, I got to spend some time with Jane Fonda. She was here in town.
I love
Tell us
her.
about it, Ernie.
My take after the evening of first, she was on stage and did her presentation, her interview on stage. Mimi Schwartz came in and did the interview with her. And then afterwards, there was a little VIP thingy-majigger, and I got to go to that and get to talk to her for a moment.
Wow.
On stage.
Humble brag.
Humble brag. But no, I just want to explain how I was in front of her. But on stage, what I found so fascinating was she was much more frenetic, and there was a warmth and kind of a goofiness, but in a good, positive way.
Yeah.
Like I've always thought of Jane Fonda as very serious and very buttoned up.
Yes.
And she was playful. She was funny at moments. She could she found the humor in herself, and she has grown from who she was younger. And she talked about it was really a great and inspiring evening. And she's almost 90 and still in the fight.
It still looks 60.
She is gorgeous.
She's gorgeous. She's
Yeah.
gorgeous. And, I've always liked her.
Yeah.
I think she's a great actress, if
She's-
not one of the best.
Classy.
Yes.
She has that level of just class in the way she presents herself and the way she approaches life. It feels
We were
like, no, I
talking a
don't
little
know
bit
her,
about
but-
meet and greets that happen after these shows, and a lot of us have been to them. Probably many of you have, where the celebrity, the person of interest, is standing there. You just kind of come and stand next to them, get your picture taken, or they shake your hand, or they say hello, and you move on. What she did was, for each person that came up, she turned away from the backdrop to greet you and talk to you, and then move over to take a picture. And so it made the experience feel like something was really happening
One-on-one.
with each one.
The
And
only one in the room.
She also talked about her concern about public media, and she's hoping that we will all band together and save this vital resource.
We
Did
can band together with her resources.
Yes. Did you invite her to Hello Houston?
Of course, I always do. She's very busy right now. But anyway, so are we. We've got a busy show today. We're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking Rocky Horror Picture Show. We're going to be learning about amendments, and we're going to talk anime. A lot of stuff's going on.
And we're going to talk about the controversial. Are they controversial crosswalks?
We'll get to
I would
those.
say they-
I'm not sure that they're controversial.
I feel like they've become controversial. They weren't, and now it's become a thing.
But I haven't heard anybody, normal person, like any just you and me kind of
Yeah.
people, saying, oh, yeah, they should cover up those crosswalks. It's the government doing this. It is not one side of people versus another side of people.
My
and
only
I think
challenge.
I do think oftentimes that is exactly right.
Yeah.
My
where
only challenge
most
is that
people are
is
reasonable.
referring to you and Frank as normal people.
We're normal. We have cycles. Ernie
just like
doesn't have a cycle. We have cycles.
Yes, I'm always pleasant. But what can get me in a bad mood is bad news. And Celeste is going to walk us into the news today.
Yes, a massive outage at Amazon Web Services disrupted major websites and apps across the United States and around the world on Monday. The cloud hosting service that supports much of the web and everyday online tools went offline after 3 a.m. because of a problem with one of its core database products, the company said. And this was Amazon Web Service, known AWS. The outage affected users of sites ranging from Snapchat to the McDonald's app and Amazon's Ring doorbell cameras to gaming platforms, Roblox, Fortnite, and even here at Houston Public Media, we felt the effects. It underlines the fragility of companies, including financial services, almost especially financial services, that use cloud-based servers to host their data, and how suddenly businesses across the globe can be affected by an unplanned outage. Were you affected by the outage? Are we officially too reliant on web services? Now is the time to join us on Hello Houston. You can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870.
Fritz over on YouTube points out it even affected the Hello Houston streaming yesterday.
It
did.
did.
We had trouble with that. I think it goes to what I heard a long time ago, is that the next world wars won't be fought in the fields. They will be fought they'll be fought online. If they get in and shut down your servers, if they shut down your ability to stream, to connect, to interconnect, that's where the wars are going to happen.
They're going to happen at the banks.
Yeah, all of
That's my
that.
concern. It's like they control the banks, and you wake up and your accounts have been emptied, and you can't prove. I mean, you hope you can prove, but you can't necessarily prove what you had. So there's one. But someone, I think Jim was saying that Sling was affected, which is one of those services. Like we have Roku and then DirecTV. And we were not affected. So I was able to watch all the sports games last night. But apparently a lot of people missed the baseball game. The Blue Jays had a remarkable win.
Yeah.
And then the football game, which the football game didn't start till 9 o'clock because they played in Seattle. I didn't see the end of it. I admit it. At 11:30, I was like, I'm done.
You're going to bed.
Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Because it underlines the concern basically of how vulnerable companies have become based on a singular technical issue. We saw it in airports, and now we're seeing it across
You're right.
the globe. And we're in that it's not just a kind of master domain within one organization like an airport. Now, if you have a basically like a worldwide cloud computing system, which that is what it is, AWS holds about 30% of the worldwide cloud computing market. Other big players are Microsoft and Google. It's obvious why companies would want to align themselves with these major cloud servers, because the cybersecurity that they can offer is much, and the convenience is very high. But then again, it just becomes so obvious when you have a technical glitch how vulnerable we are to it.
That was more eloquently put than the point I was trying to make a little bit ago, is that this whole idea that we're all interconnected through if they cut off the power, everything ends. We have no way to communicate. We have no way to get knowledge. In the olden days, remember when we had filing cabinets with files and the information? We'd have nothing. We have access to nothing really outside of what's on our laptops, what's on our computers. It's very scary.
Right.
And that's why they say back up your computer a lot,
right?
So that you have those files that
but
you need.
But now you back them up to the cloud, and that's that cloud.
No, let's advance. I'm just being crazy here, but let's advance 50 years when everything is AI. Yeah. Our traffic lights are AI. Our air traffic controllers are AI. The banks are everything is automated, is my point. So much of it is now. Can you imagine when the whole world is automated and counting on some machine to tell you what to do, and now all the machines break?
It makes me think of that movie in the 80s where all of the electronics started attacking people, like the toaster. Do you remember what movie?
Stephen King, but I do remember.
Something like the refrigerator. I know we're talking about much more higher level technology here, but there's a movie, I'll have to find it. I remember watching it when I was little, and it was just how all of the our appliances were attacking us. But 713-440-8870. Enough about appliances attacking us. Gary from Waller is on the line. Gary, welcome to Hello Houston.
Good morning. I was on my Kindle listening to the radio yesterday morning, and it went off, and I had a loss. But my telephone, I have a landline. My phone was out all day long until they got it restored. And I talked to a friend after that, and he lives up in Tennessee, and he said, it was a nationwide outage or half the country or whatever. But I haven't heard a single word about AT&T telephone service. Was that part of it? Was I the only one that blipped out? I was going crazy. I can't call 911. Nobody can call me, and I didn't know if it was me or the system. I found out it was, pretty widespread, but all I've heard is Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. What's that got to do with AT&T, and AT&T?
Well, AT&T is an internet service as well as a telephone service and a cellular service. I imagine that given their products now, they are very heavily dependent on the cloud and on their internet connections. I don't have a landline anymore, so that's interesting. I would have thought that if nothing else, the landline would still be viable, and I would think that Comcast would have still been pretty viable too, since they're cable and not internet. But everything now, I think, is just like spaghetti, and to try to get one meatball out and not touch the spaghetti is hard to do.
Right, and I think that's exactly what the computer-based type servers on a cloud is. That information, that technology is kind of in a server, and a lot of the, like you were saying, internets, like an AT&T, a cell service, that's kind of the backbone of a lot of those
Let
things.
me jump in here and
Yes, please
clarify.
clarify.
So yes, AT&T was affected by the recent AWS outage with reports of connectivity issues for some customers. While many services were impacted by the AWS disruption, AT&T customers experienced their own service outages that may have been exacerbated by the AWS issue, though the primary cause of AT&T's problem was internal, according to PC Magazine.
But here's a simple example. Don't forget this. Like when you had a landline, they offered all kinds of bonuses, like a message machine. Right? But that all had to be set up. I mean, so your landline is a landline that is still very much connected to those kind of internet services.
And landlines are having a comeback because there are a lot of parents that are now saying, and this is the truth, like if something were to happen, I don't have a phone in my house besides our cell phones.
Yeah.
So, you think about that or my children do know my password, but if something were to happen to me at the house, how would they reach? Yeah. Again, 713-440-8870. We have a call from Doug from Katy. Doug, welcome to Hello Houston.
Yes, you were asking about that movie. It was called Runaway, and it starred Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons of KISS, along with Kirstie Alley. So I just thought I'd let you know.
Now there's an all-star cast. Thank you for that one.
Thanks, Doug.
We also had someone else, though, write us on YouTube and said they think that the movie was a Stephen King film called Maximum Overdrive. So I guess this concept, this conceit has been in a few different films.
Runaway is a Michael Crichton-based movie about a police officer who hunts down a villain who's reprogramming robots to be killers. So I'm not sure that's exactly what you were thinking about. Yeah. But it may be more Stephen King. No.
For not being the movie buff.
Hey, very good. You saw a movie.
Thank you.
Fit into a conversation. Dallas Home asks, should we be using AI due to the amount of electricity and water needed to power AI? There's a lot of talk about that. I still don't understand that whole part of the piece of this puzzle. I hear it all the time, how many resources it takes to process that kind of computer information, but I really don't know the whole story.
Did you see the story today about the anchor woman in London?
The AI.
The AI anchor woman?
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting on a lot of levels. I saw it on the Today Show. I'm still an NBC loyalist. I mean,
right.
I'll never bite the hand that fed me.
We actually, so my husband is in Spain, and he actually received a text from a friend about exactly that, saying that he thought the AI person, the Channel 4 airs entire show hosted by AI, looked like me.
Yeah, well, there she is.
Wait, Celeste, are you real? That explains
one of the points I was going to make is that even in an AI, we're a looksist society.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to make our AI anchors gorgeous because we can't deal with someone telling us the news that's not gorgeous. And the thing is, I think credibility comes with being who you are and being authentic, no matter what you look like. And if we get to this whole AI anchor thing where everybody's a good-looking person delivering the news, sports, and weather, I think we're going to miss out on so much in life.
Oh, I don't disagree, but I also think that notion, Frank, has been around for a long time when we used to look at magazines as the pillar of fashion. There was a lot of times where they would say 17 magazine was bad for young girls because the magazines would show these supermodels, and then they would think that is the actual.
And then Photoshop came along.
Oh
my God, nobody's that skinny.
Even supermodels don't look like supermodels anymore.
Exactly.
Dark One also pointed out AT&T is no longer maintaining their existing copper lines for landlines and is forcing customers over to fiber, which is essentially internet feed.
Fiber.
So even if you have a landline, how long is that going to last? I have fiber. And
I think we do too.
Dark One also mentions we need an AI Marvin Zindler.
I drink fiber every morning.
Oh, Frank. Well, that's good to know because today is National Apple Pie Day and National Pumpkin Cheesecake Day, so that'll help that all move along. It's also National Witch Hazel Day. Does anyone still use witch hazel?
I use witch hazel.
It dries up. It dries up whatever you have going on in your skin like that.
Clean up.
I'm a straight rubbing alcohol kind of guy. Okay, and also one last one. Today is Back to the Future Day because this is the date in Back to the Future 2 that Marty McFly and Doc Brown traveled to when they went to the future. This is
2025?
Yeah.
You know,
Right there.
Ernie this morning walked in and he told me, I've had 2 sodas this morning, and we are seeing we are seeing that effect. But coming up on Hello Houston, Raheel Ramzanali, formerly of ESPN Radio and CityCast, will join us to discuss the new Rocket season, which starts tonight. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Want to binge All Creatures Great and Small, catch up on Nova, or revisit Ken Burns' documentaries? You can with PBS Passport. With a gift of $5 or more per month to Houston Public Media, you'll get access to PBS Passport that lets you watch your favorite programs anytime you want. Support the programs you love and enjoy them on your own schedule with PBS Passport. Make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
88.7.
Can't get enough PBS programming? PBS Passport is an added member benefit that offers exclusive streaming access to many of your favorite programs on the PBS app. Whether you're an NPR listener, a PBS watcher, or both, your ongoing donations of at least $5 per month qualify for PBS Passport. Make your gift now to start watching at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Listening to the news can feel like a journey, and 1A is the place for daily conversation that guides you beyond the headlines. We bring together thoughtful guests and listeners from every state to help us take the pulse of America. I'm Jen White. We'll get to the heart of the story together on 1A.
"1A," weekdays at 2 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from J.P. Morgan Chase, committed to investing in the people of Texas and supporting access to resources that help foster community and economic growth. More at jpmorganchase.com/communities/Texas.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Visit Galveston, presenting historic Galveston Ghost Tours. The island's ghostly history makes it one of America's destinations for haunted travel this Halloween season. More at visitgalveston.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
The Houston Rockets open the NBA season tonight against the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder, the team that originally drafted newly acquired star Kevin Durant. The Rockets are expected to be a powerhouse in the West, but not just because of Durant. Their young players like first-time All-Star Alperen Şengün and defensive Swiss Army knife Amin Thompson are expected to make major contributions to this year's campaign. They're both set to start tonight's game alongside Durant, Jabari Smith, and Steven Adams. But a few questions still remain for the team this season, like who will step up as starting point guard with Fred VanVleet hurt? And will age play a factor for the 37-year-old Durant, who signed a 2-year deal yesterday before playing a regular season game with the team? To discuss, we welcome Raheel Ramzanali, former ESPN Radio and CityCast Houston host. Raheel, welcome to Hello Houston.
What's up? How are y'all? So nice to hear from y'all, and I'm excited to be on the show.
Welcome. Yeah, we're excited to have you. And if you would like to join the conversation, if you have a question or you want to just chime in, you can give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870. Okay.
So did anything excite you about the Texans last night? They spent more time in their own backfield end zone than anywhere else.
Oh my gosh, that was so frustrating. There was so much excitement, and it just seems like every time they go to Seattle, it is a disaster. The defense, look, they did their job. They forced 4 turnovers, but the offense has been such a bugaboo for them. They can't figure things out with the offensive line. CJ Stroud has taken a step back as well, and there's nothing positive on that offensive side. It's so hard to watch because this defense is so good.
Yeah, the Seahawks could have probably scored more in the first half. They kind of screwed up a few things, but I like C.J. Stroud. I like him I don't know him, but I like him. I like him as a person. I think he's a good leader. But you do wonder, is C.J. more see ya?
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
I like that. I like Frank speaking sports.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think? We brought you on to tell us the truth. What do you think?
Yeah, look, he had a great rookie year, and the NFL is all about figuring you out, right? And with young quarterbacks, the defensive game plans get a little bit more complicated. Things get harder to operate on offense. And maybe it's that right now. And this gives CJ a chance to go into the offseason. And look, there's still plenty of season left. I don't want to say offseason just yet, but he has to figure this out. And he has to figure out what defenses are doing, what the game plans are, and how is he going to counter that. So that's the next evolution of CJ Stroud. I love him as a quarterback. I think he is a leader that can take this franchise to the next level, along with DeMeco Ryans, the head coach, and Will Anderson Jr. on the defensive side. So you want him to figure out, but it all comes down to him. If CJ can't figure this out, then you're back in quarterback purgatory. You need a QB1 to be successful in the NFL, and it looks like the Texans have it, but he's going to have to figure it out.
Okay, Raheel, help us figure out the Rockets embarking on a new season tonight. We're talking about a team that really has a new look with with a big name. How will Kevin Durant change this team? Do you think he's the guy to do it?
Oh, he's going to change this team in the best of ways. So Kevin Durant, if you haven't been following the NBA, which is okay, he is one of the greatest scorers of all time. Played at Texas, and I'm going to age myself. I actually covered Kevin Durant at the University of Texas back when he was there for 1 year. He was a freshman, won all the honors, left to the NBA, got drafted by Seattle, which then turned into Oklahoma City, and that was one of the subplots you pointed out as we started this segment. But he changes everything. The Rockets last year, they needed a guy to get them a bucket when they needed it the most in the playoffs, right? Fred VanVleet did as much as he could last year against Golden State, took that series to 7 games. But they just need that one guy who can put up 20, 25 a game at any point. And that's who Kevin Durant is. And he is on a stacked roster. So this is a great chance for the Rockets to make a run to the NBA Finals. And Frank, check this out. I got my Rockets 94. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
So maybe we can have another championship shirt. You know, that's the big thing
So
here.
talk a little bit more about Kevin's resume. How did he do with the other teams with which he played before he came to us?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of hate was directed towards Kevin Durant. He was on Oklahoma City. It was a team that was phenomenal with James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and then Harden gets traded to the Rockets, and then Westbrook and Durant, they retool at Oklahoma City. They make a big push against the Golden State Warriors. They lose. And then Kevin Durant jumps ship and goes to the team he just lost to in the Golden State Warriors during their golden run. And he wins 2 NBA finals there. He gets finals MVP. He is, again, one of the most decorated scorers of all time and has done so much. And since then, he's been bouncing around on teams, Phoenix, Brooklyn being the 2 biggest. And now it looks like he's found himself a new home where he is joining a roster that needs a piece like him. There's a lot of youngsters. There's a lot of defensive players on this roster that can help him. But this is one of his best chances to get back to the NBA Finals and win another ring and potentially another Finals MVP.
Talk to me a little bit about the concept of a star player. These are teams. Does this chip away at the unity of a team when so much attention is put on a single player? What does that do to building, here we go, the word again, building a good team?
You know, some stars will take away from the team, but for example, all 3 of y'all are stars, right? And you work in unison, and you can do that, and you can accomplish so much. And in the NBA, that is also the case. You mentioned Alperen Sengun. He is a budding star. Amen Thompson, a budding star. And you have a guy like Kevin Durant, but he is that guy. Like, he is, one of the greatest scorers of all time. He's helping these other younger stars understand like what to do in the NBA on a day-to-day basis, what it takes to be one of the greatest players of all time. So they're all working together. And when you have a guy like Durant, it just takes the load off of the others, right? And now they can just play their game a little bit more. There's less offensive load on Amen and also in Sengun, and they can just play what they're really good at. But it comes down to having stars. You need stars in the NBA. You need players who can deliver when it's the most important in the playoffs. And that's what Durant's going to do, and that's what the rest of these stars are going to do now that Durant's lightening that load up a little bit.
But then having had the past he's had and coming in, does he look like a true team player, or is he seen as an opportunist moving where he needs to be best for him?
You can come here, Kevin Durant, and win some titles. I don't care if you're an opportunist. I'd rather have Durant on the Rockets than not on the Rockets. And, I don't think he's viewed as that, though, Ernie, as like a guy who just is a hitman for hire per se, right? Like he just sees a great roster. He sees a great opportunity. He also loves working with head coach Ime Udoka, and he has an opportunity now to do something that the Rockets haven't done since I was in elementary school. So this is a great way to not only get Houston back to the NBA Finals, but also to put that like final seal on his legacy that he won championships at multiple places.
I want to ask a real quick question about Reed Sheppard. Speaking of teamwork, he's like he's a really great player. What do you think he's going to bring to the Rockets this year with Kevin?
He's going to have to bring a lot. You know, that injury to Fred VanVleet, the ACL tear in preseason, that really changed the dynamics of this roster. So Fred was the starting point guard. He's the guy that's going to operate everything, has so much playoff experience, won a championship with the Toronto Raptors a few years ago as well, and was going to be such a complementary piece with Kevin Durant. Then the injury happens, and now Reed Sheppard, there's a lot on his plate, and I think he's going to deliver. Had a huge preseason. There's one game where he had 29 points, and he just has this dynamic role and this dynamic game that's going to complement everybody else on this roster. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. There's going to be ups and downs, unfortunately, right? He's a young player still, so you have to get used to that. But because of who's around him, I think he's going to come out so much stronger and really live up to all the potential that he was drafted with as a top 5 pick.
He seems like he has amazing pass work. He can really, I mean, you don't even know where the ball's going to go, but he does. He's so good at
he
that.
does. And that's what, as long as he knows, then we're good.
That's right.
So, Raheel, we've been talking a lot who's on the roster, but who's not on the roster is Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. And both of those guys were traded to the Suns, and they were a big part of the team last year. So how is this going to affect the team now not having kind of some two key players?
Yeah, and they were part of the trade that got Kevin Durant here to the Houston Rockets. And, Jalen Green, he was a really good scorer, didn't have the best playoff run last year against the Golden State Warriors. And he will be missed, but again, you're replacing him with one of the greatest scorers of all time. So that load, that's going to be okay. Like Kevin Durant can carry that. Now, Dillon Brooks, I love Dillon Brooks. A lot of people don't like Dillon Brooks. He was the dude that would just do all the dirty work and would get under people's skin and would just cause all sorts of havoc. And that's what you want on these teams, right? You want those guys that are the garbage players that are going to do that dirty work. But the Rockets still have plenty of those guys. So it is going to be tough to replace Dillon Brooks from an attitude standpoint, but they've got a lot of guys. And I think that attitude also starts with Ime Udoka, who's a very tough-minded coach. And that team is going to still live up to that potential of being a gritty, dirty defensive team. But now they have a scorer in Kevin Durant that can really open things up.
Looking forward into the season and what this year should mean for the Rockets, do you think they're looking at playoffs at any cost, or is it more build for the future, use this as a development year, or is it just simply to establish credibility and then?
Oh, no, this is NBA Finals or bust. You don't trade for Kevin Durant to just get a shot at the playoffs. You trade for him with this stacked roster that they've been building, and Rafael Stone, the general manager for the Houston Rockets, has done such a great job of building a fantastic roster. You make this move to get to the NBA Finals and to potentially win it, right? You don't know what happens. The NBA playoffs, y'all, it goes for like 2 months. So there are a lot of injuries. There are a lot of ups and downs. You've got home court advantage. A lot goes into this. So when you get to the NBA Finals, then it's a toss-up. You never know what's going to happen, right? If last year Tyrese Halliburton doesn't get injured in that deciding Game 7, we don't know what happens, and Oklahoma City probably loses that NBA Finals. Like, we don't know, right? So there's so many questions. You just want to get to the NBA Finals and then just go for it and go for it from there. So this is an all-in move, and the Rockets signing Durant to another 2 years as well. keeps that door open. So the next 3 years, you've got to win one NBA Finals for this to be successful, in my opinion.
So do you think it's fair to say that we're seeing a new era of the Rockets? I mean, you're wearing the 94 NBA World Championship T-shirt.
Yeah.
We've had some dark years. Do you think we're back?
Oh, yeah. They are back. And this is a great time to jump back on board, to follow this team. I know it does get hard watching this team because they're only on Space City, which is the local network. So it does get hard, but tonight they're going to be on NBC. Do y'all remember the NBA on NBC song?
I was on
It's
NBC
back.
during the NBA.
I know. I remember. Yeah, of course.
I
So you
remember 94.
You remember.
I was there in
So they
94
are
when you
back.
were 3, kid. Let me ask you, let's talk baseball a little bit. I mean, talk about building a roster. The Toronto Blue Jays have been building their team for 10 years, and it's paid off. You know, if I was a betting man, I would bet on not the Blue Jays. I would bet on the Dodgers. What about you?
You know, unfortunately, the Dodgers are stacked.
I mean, unless Ohtani dies
tough
between
task.
now and then, they're in big trouble.
It's just so much, Frank. Like that is a good team, but the Dodgers, yes, you know what you're going to get with them, but with the Blue Jays, there's just like X factor. There's this thing. Remember with the Astros in 2017?
Yeah.
There was
We all
this just,
remember that.
energy around. Yeah, there's just this energy with the Blue Jays that you never know. You never know. And yeah, as a betting man, you put money on the Dodgers, but as a fan, I'm rooting for Toronto to do something special. Of course, behind George Springer, who hits that go-ahead home run last night. What a moment for him, former Astro. I am rooting for them. I can't wait. I usually don't watch the MLB playoffs if the Astros aren't in it, but I'm going to be locked in for this one.
Well, I'm with you. I'm for the Blue Jays also, just because the Dodgers are so jaded.
All right. So what are the Rockets' odds tonight? You're a betting man. What do you think?
You know, they're not favored tonight because they are taking on Oklahoma City, which, again, they won the NBA title last year. This is their ring ceremony night, and there's going to be a lot of emotions. Kevin Durant going back to Oklahoma City. Now, he's been back there since he's been traded, obviously, because that was such a long time ago. But when you're debuting with your team and going to the city that, that you grew up with, there's going to be a lot of emotions. And yeah, Oklahoma City's favored, but on these ring nights, you never know. The emotional drain might be a little bit too much for Oklahoma City, and the Rockets go in and steal one. It's a long season. Even if they lose tonight, it's okay. There's a lot of games left. So tonight is just watch, see how they look. They've got this huge lineup. Everyone is super tall, like 6'10" and tall, 6'10" and higher. So this is going to be cool. I'm excited to just see what happens here with the Rockets and this journey to potentially an NBA championship, which is what this is all about.
Raheel Ramzanali, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Yeah, and
thank you so much for having me.
Where are you guys going to be watching the game tonight?
Ding, ding, ding.
I'm going out to dinner. I can't
Going
watch.
out to dinner.
I'll
Raheel, where are you going?
I'll go to On the Curb, probably.
On the Curb?
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching at home. I can't wait. I want to hear that iconic theme song on NBC and get me back to my childhood. And then maybe, Frank, I don't know, you got to show up. We got to do the weather one more time. Just randomly show up. Why not? like, let's really go 90s here. Right?
Let's take it. Let's do a real throwback.
I still have the ties. I mean,
There
I
you
can
go.
do it.
A real throwback. Yeah, I'll be in my living room watching it with my kiddos. But coming up, we're going to talk about Art Factory Houston's production of the Rocky Horror Show. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
At 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
On Fresh Air, you'll hear revelations from well-known actors, like Zach Galifianakis on the story behind his last name.
It's actually shortened, Terry. My real last name is Galifianakisberg. That's an exclusive for your show.
Fresh Air, bringing you some of the biggest names in American culture and some of the most difficult to pronounce. Join us.
Fresh Air weekdays at 8 p.m. on News 88.7.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film,
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
books,
The detail is amazing.
art,
There's all the personal stuff.
theatre,
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
music,
The dance floor is made for dancing.
and everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's the Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty,
I really identified with it.
from the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7. Support comes from Discovery Green Conservancy, presenting Scream on the Green. The Halloween celebration features games, music, movies, and a costume contest with prizes. October 25th. Details at discoverygreen.com/scream. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. Through research and innovation, Baylor continues to redefine what's possible in healthcare and medical discovery.
And now back to Hello Houston. Call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org to get your comment in on today's topics. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey. It seemed a fairly ordinary show when Colton Berry, an ordinary healthy director, stepped onto the stage that late October evening to revisit a much-loved musical. It's true, it began as a stage piece and then morphed into a film whose initial box office promised failure. And yes, the world in which we lived was badly in need of unconditional acceptance. Yet these normal kids, out for a night of fun, refused to let a mildly incoherent script to spoil their evening. On that night, and on many nights thereafter, they rose to the front, joined the performance, and acted out the whole show. That became nights out that they would remember for a very long time. It was the Rocky Horror Show first, then the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and now, thanks to Houston's very own Art Factory, it returns to the stage again as the Rocky Horror Show. And joining us is the founding artistic director of the Art Factory, Colton Berry. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
Did you appreciate that opening?
I loved it.
Did you get what it was?
I got it all.
I appreciated that.
That's
that
the
opening.
narrator, the criminologist at the beginning of Rocky Horror, setting it
That's
up.
right.
I'm so clever sometimes. So, Rocky Horror back again.
Rocky Horror back again.
How many times have you done this?
This is my eighth. My
Only
eighth Rocky
eighth?
Horror, yeah.
What do you love about it?
There's so much to love about it. I think the biggest thing is it's just it's so celebratory.
True.
It's always a party. It's always just so much fun and just celebrating uniqueness and individuality. And I think that is really its core. And then also it's just so much fun to do and to have people throw things at you and yell at you all night long. And,
oh, I'm used to that.
Oh, yeah.
Colton, but I have to ask, because there's a difference, and Ernie was talking to us about this earlier, the Rocky Horror Show versus the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Right.
Talk to us about
So the Rocky Horror Show is a musical that premiered in London in '73.
Yeah.
Written book, music, and lyrics by Richard O'Brien, who also ends up playing Riff Raff in the film. And then in '75, they turned it into the film that we all know and love. And over the years, these things happened called shadow casts, where people would act out the movie in front of the screen. So what we're actually doing is bringing back the original source material, the musical itself. And this year is the 50th anniversary of the film. So this year we're doing a lot of sort of homages to the film and the design, and it's so much fun, and people are having a blast with it.
Is it that much different than the picture show that we all saw?
Very similar. It's very similar. There's a lot more music. There's expanded music. Brad gets his own song, and the scenes are slightly restructured. But I mean, almost everything is word perfect, to the point where if you know the old call outs to yell at the screen, you can yell them at us during the show, and sometimes I respond.
Where's your neck? Where's your neck?
Yeah, moments like that.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about, well, first of all, I even read in the mildly incoherent script.
Yeah.
You've worked on it a number of times.
I have.
Does it make sense to you?
I think I've made it make sense. But Richard has said so many times when being interviewed about the show that it was all supposed to be this spoofy, campy, sexy, silly thing. It was never meant to be something that became such a cultural phenomenon.
It really is a cultural phenomenon,
so many people and started standing for something much bigger than he ever intended it to be. He really meant for it to be just a silly play in a basement theater in the UK. And look what it's become. It's
who knew that Sweet Transvestite would just go from there in 1973 to now in 2025?
Right.
I mean, it takes on a kind of a whole different meaning.
Absolutely, it does. And playing Frank and singing that song every night, there's just such an interesting, palpable feeling of so many emotions and so many just I don't know. There's a heaviness to that song now that didn't exist before.
Right. And you are essentially expressing so much through art.
Right.
What does it mean for you to be up there during that time?
You know what? It's sort of a blur, but because it's such a difficult role. Honestly, once I go on stage, I don't leave for a very long time, and I'm wearing 21-inch platform stiletto heels.
Wow.
It's a little crazy and running up and down stairs. So it's hard to say what it feels like in the moment, but I can say it's an absolute honor to step into Tim Curry's shoes, and it's an absolute honor to bring this character and this entire show to life that, again, has changed so many people over the course of the last 50 years.
It is kind of interesting that when it first came out, in some ways, it was so shocking in what they were addressing, and then through its run, it became so much more accepted and became almost comfortable for people to see it. And yet now it seems like we've gone back to where so much of it is shocking again. And I think that's a very odd journey for a piece like that. Usually it makes its mark and moves you somewhere. Rarely does it then move back around you again so that it's as shocking.
Right. And to direct it, we focus on that a lot. Like, okay, well, is this too far? Every year that I direct it, I have to ask myself the question, are we pushing this too heavy? Are we asking too many heavy questions? Are we doing too many bizarre or over the line things? And it's a strange thing to revisit a piece that, again, has been around for so long and say, like, oh, well, is this a new line, or is this line coming back from the past that we can't cross again?
What's usually your answer?
Ernie knows me. The answer is there is no line. There is no line.
Keep going. There's no sand, much less a line.
Right,
Or
exactly.
the line has always been there, right? That we think that the line moves, but essentially it is always still there.
I remember it, though, boy. When it first came out, I was alive and a teenager, and we were all like, oh, my gosh.
What is
and the
this?
Tim Curry character sleeps with everybody, the men, the women. There's all this bisexuality going on. You're like, oh, my goodness. And
Did you Southerner?
But there's also a quaintness to
Clutch your
it.
pearls,
That's
Frank.
the weird thing. There's also the quaintness to it. There's also, in some weird way, a very wholesomeness to
Yes.
it.
Well,
and that's
Janet
what I
and,
think makes it work, is that it's in your face, but like I said, it helped move an audience to find acceptance in who they were and to appreciate individuals for being different than you.
Right. And in a lot of cases, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, especially those midnight showings in the mid-70s and early 80s, they became a home to so many people who considered themselves outcasts everywhere else in society. They found a community, a family in the show.
It's interesting because the first time I saw the Rocky Horror Show,
So you actually
school,
saw this film?
I've seen the film.
Oh, good
yes.
for you.
And I actually saw a play, and it was in college. And I remember leaving feeling like the community was all of us watching it together.
Yeah.
And so you're almost doing it together, like watching these things happen and seeing these themes, and it's how it's affecting you, but you're going through it together. And there is something absolutely kind of connected in that together. Like
the couple, Brad and Janet, is that their names?
Absolutely.
I remember that after all this time.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So I remember, damn it, Janet. Remember that? So they are kind of us. I mean, you know, they take us into this crazy world as innocents.
Right.
But they're not so innocent.
Right.
And I think that's it.
That's
we
a
all
good
think
point.
we're innocent until we're like, well, not that innocent.
Yeah. Brad and Janet definitely.
I'm not sure. I want everybody to think I'm innocent.
Exactly.
I
Brad
wear
and Janet
cardigans
are that.
Sweaters, you know.
Yeah, they are that, and they go through this journey of awakening,
Yeah.
where they realize they've had all these feelings and all of these thoughts on the inside the whole time, and it isn't until Dr. Frankenfurter awakens them that they realize that this is who they've actually been all along, and it's who we all are. It's just about, taking your inner expression and letting it shine.
I don't want people to think I was just beating up on Celeste. We have a running gag around here. Celeste has seen nothing. And one of our folks on YouTube even says, Celeste saw this, but not Star Wars?
That's true.
Tells you about her taste in films. If I'm not mistaken, Rocky Horror's going back to Broadway, too.
Yes, it is
really?
being workshopped right now at City Center, I believe.
I think so.
And then, the goal is to get it back to Broadway.
Well, do you know, you may or may not, Evita and Sunset Boulevard, they're staging all of these reprises with a very stark, kind of dark video staging. Now, as a director, do you think Rocky Horror Picture Show could be done, or Rocky Horror could be done like that?
Here's the interesting thing. I've done the show so many times, directed it and designed it, and it can be done in any way, shape, or form. That's the other really interesting part about the piece, is that you could do it in a living room or you could do it in, a stadium. The show just works no matter how you present it.
But I think that your audience, because it's such a cultural milestone, the film, and probably the vast majority of people who come to see the show have seen the film, I would guess. They can see the film no matter what you're putting in front of them, so they can fill in the empty spaces for you. And I guess in some ways that may be limiting as a director, but also freeing.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, this year, because it is the 50th anniversary of the film.
Which is crazy.
I know. We're leaning into the design that sort of mimics the film, but we also throw in a bunch of surprises, and that's what's the most fun, I think, on stage, is when we do something shocking or surprising that you didn't see in the film, whether it's a visual or a joke or a sight gag or something like that, how the fans just go crazy about having an even new experience with something they've had with them their whole lives.
How large is your cast?
I think we're at 17 total, including myself.
And do you think that part of the reason, I know we talked about the community and people filling in for the parts that you mentioned, how it could be in a backyard or it could be in a stadium. Do you think that's part of the writing as well?
I think
the music. What do you think that is?
It was
Why does
written
it
to be performed in a very small theater, like very, very small. I think it was a 50-seat theater, something like that, where it first made its debut. But it's also just, the story is so succinct and so clean that you don't need a lot of anything else to fill in the blanks. And obviously, because of the film, you don't need a lot of scenery. You don't need a lot of costuming. In fact, most of the costuming is just underwear.
We've got 1 minute left, so really quickly want to grab a quick call here. Janet from the Heights is online. You have to pop on your headphones to hear what Janet has to say.
Is it that Janet?
Janet, are you there with
Janet
Brad?
Weiss?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Colton's trying to put his headphones on.
I'm just going to hold it.
Okay, Janet, go.
Sort of. Hi, I'm that Janet. I've been that Janet for a long time. I answer to it. It's so normal.
So what's your question for Colton or comment?
I just wanted to be a damn it Janet on the radio.
Well, then we'll all say it.
Yeah.
Damn it, Janet. I love you. Janet, thank you for calling. Colton, thank you for coming in.
Absolutely.
And I know you're busy with the show and all that, so I thank you for taking the time to come in.
Thanks for having me.
Colton Berry, founding artistic director of Art Factory. Thank you again for joining us on Hello Houston. Richard O'Brien's The Rocky Horror Show runs October 24th through October 31st at the Art Factory. To find out more, visit artfactoryhouston.com. Coming up, we'll continue diving into today's top stories. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
I'm Ira Flato. When did you first get captivated by science? Astronaut Leland Melvin says his interest was sparked literally when his mother gave him a chemistry set.
I created this explosion. I burned her carpet. She ran in the room and, I got a spanking, but my brain was activated to science.
Activate your brain to science on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
Science Friday, every Friday, 1 p.m. on News 88.7. Join us for Hello Houston, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., taking a deep dive into the stories that matter to Houstonians, keeping you informed, engaged, and entertained, with a generous support from our founding sponsor, John Bradshaw.
You might see some rain today. We have a 30% chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Today's high getting up to 90. Chance of rain tonight, too, with a low 67. It's 85. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, residents have repainted the colors of Montrose's rainbow crosswalks not even a day after they were removed. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top stories. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also hear the latest episode of Texperts, where University of Houston political science professor and party politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus breaks down the amendment process.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. Plus, we'll also learn about the new Asia Society of Texas exhibition, the House of Pikachu, art, anime, and pop culture.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube. Just go to HoustonPublicMedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. brokered Israel-Hamas ceasefire in Gaza is holding despite recent violence. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports on Vance's remarks in Israel today.
Over the weekend, Israel announced it had launched new strikes on Gaza, accusing Hamas of breaching the ceasefire. Hamas denied any involvement. Acknowledging the new violence, Vance accused some in the news media of having a, quote, desire to root for failure.
There's this inclination to say, oh, this is the end of the ceasefire. This is the end of the peace plan. It's not the end. It is, in fact, exactly how this is going to have to happen when you have people who hate each other, who have been fighting against each other for a very long time.
Vance also said that if Hamas does not cooperate in the ceasefire process, they will be, quote, obliterated. Vance was joined by Middle East Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, both of whom helped negotiate the ceasefire. Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR News.
The federal government's been shut down for 21 days now. The head of the Farm Action Fund, Joe Maxwell, says farmers are feeling it.
We have been farming for the last several years, and but for government subsidies, government programs, we would have been in the negative. So we rely on government to keep us in the black.
Thousands of workers are not getting paid during the shutdown. As of yesterday, they included some 1,400 people at the agency that oversees the country's nuclear stockpile. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is siding with the administration's efforts to deploy the National Guard to Portland. Oregon Public Broadcasting's Conrad Wilson has more on yesterday's ruling.
The decision overturns one of two temporary restraining orders issued by a lower court judge blocking the federalization and deployment of the National Guard to Oregon. Jessica Levinson, a professor at Loyola Law School, says the majority of the appeals court found the president's authority shouldn't be questioned over concerns such as an inability to carry out federal law.
What a majority of the panel concluded is that the district court judge had essentially substituted her judgment for the president's judgment in an inappropriate way.
In a dissenting opinion, an appeals court judge warned the majority was eroding constitutional protections, such as the right to protest the government and state sovereignty. For NPR News, I'm Conrad Wilson in Portland.
People across the chess community are expressing shock online at reports that 29-year-old American chess grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky has died. The Charlotte Chess Center in North Carolina, where Naroditsky was a head coach, announced his death yesterday in a social media statement. In a final video posted to his YouTube channel on Friday, Naroditsky told viewers he was back better than ever.
I've been sort of taking kind of a creative break, deciding, future avenues of content.
Cause of death is still unknown. The former child prodigy born to Jewish immigrants from Ukraine and Azerbaijan is being remembered today as a highly respected teacher and live streamer. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. With early voting for the November election now underway, Governor Greg Abbott will be in Cypress this afternoon, encouraging residents to get out and vote. The Cy-Fair ISD School Board has 3 seats up for election this year. In 2023, the board gained a 6-1 conservative majority and implemented a number of right-wing policies like Bible-focused elective courses and book banning practices. Cypress Tomball Democrats plan to attend today's event and protest what they call the governor's, quote, anti-public education agenda. Houston City Council members could soon vote on buying a vacant building on the city's east end that would be used as a major resource hub for people experiencing homelessness. City leaders did a walkthrough of the building Monday. As News 88.7's Sarah Gruno reports, the new facility would include psychiatric services and substance abuse programs.
Houston Mayor John Whitmire says the city will also work to provide resources to people being released from the Harris County Jail. The facility will be located about a mile away from the jail.
Harris County, quit releasing your inmates at midnight. I've been raising hell about that for years. You go over there at 12 o'clock on San Jacinto, the garage door's lifted. Some families there to pick up their loved ones, many are not, with no resources, not a dollar, and nowhere to go.
City Council members are expected to vote on the $16 million purchase of the facility on Wednesday. I'm Sarah Gruno, News 88.7.
No injuries have been reported after a train went off its tracks in Waller County late yesterday. In total, 17 cars on the Union Pacific train derailed, shutting down eastbound lanes of Business 290 between James Muse Parkway and Blanco Road. According to Houston Transtar, those lanes are still closed. It's not clear how the derailment occurred. Slightly cooler temperatures are in store this week with a weak cool front moving through the Houston area today. There's a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon after 2 p.m. and extending into this evening. Low tonight around 67, tomorrow's high 81. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for dedicated and forward-thinking individuals to join their growing team. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We're back.
Welcome
Hello,
back
Houston.
To
Hour. Hello, Houston.
Hello there. That was fun to visit with Rocky Horror again.
That was fun.
They had me, other companies that this kind of morphed out of, had me play the narrator, the criminologist, in a few different times over the years, and I've always had fun doing that.
And weirdly, I scan TV all the time. I love TV. It's my life. But I very rarely come across, I don't think I ever come across Rocky Horror Picture Show, like just on some weird
on a
channel.
It
Do
used
you
to
ever
be-
see it?
Yes, it used to be on like TNT or
Like
it used to be-
TBS.
yeah, it used to run it all the time. But
Yes.
now with the streaming service, people have rights to the films, and certain things are held
Is that why?
back and all of that and stuff. But it's out there. I mean,
I haven't seen it in a long time.
And then they did that live version of it that they did on Fox, where they did it like the live theater version of it. And so then once something like that comes out, it pulls the film rights back. And
I
things
do
like
have a little bit of a nostalgia for being back in like the 90s, early 2000s, where you would, on a Saturday evening, turn the TV on and a random movie
whatever
would
was
be
on, you would watch.
You would watch it with
You
the
had no say.
commercials. Yeah.
I still do that. But that's me.
Okay.
You were talking weather out there.
I was going to say, Frank, we're getting a lot of questions.
Well, my friend Lee Slatteper's having this big golf tournament in Galveston on Saturday morning. You're getting what, garage sale questions?
No, Rudy Guerrero, 78, says, Frank Billingsley, I'm planning a backyard chili cook-off on Saturday in Rosenberg. Will we be drenched?
I got to tell you, Saturday is the rain we need, but not on a Saturday.
Yeah.
If you look at I've been looking at all the models right now. They're consistently wet from Saturday morning through Saturday afternoon, even into parts of the evening. So my guess would be yes, you're going to get wet. But, I tell people the truth. That's why I was so popular.
Is that what it was?
My British computer guy says Cops was always on. Remember that show?
Oh, my Lord. They always were on TV.
Oh, yeah.
I also miss regular ABC, CBS infomercials.
Okay, we started watching The
On my
Diplomat.
Sunday.
The Diplomat last night. We started watching that one. It just dropped.
Are you watching season 1 or are you watching the new season?
Season 3, yeah.
Okay.
Which...
I haven't watched any of it.
Let me
so
know
don't
what you
spoil
think. Let me know
anything.
what you think. But I think it's sort of fun, but it's not as dramatic and serious as seasons 1 and 2. But if you haven't seen it, you don't know what I'm talking about. But those were real mysteries of who done it, and this bad stuff happened, and the people you think did it didn't do it. The other people did it, And so now this new season is kind of like, well, it's fun, but I'm not sure that it's going to.
Would you
say
say it's your current obsession, Frank?
Well, now that I'm over Diane Keaton, yes. She was last week, but we never got to it.
Yeah. Well, we're not getting to it now because current obsessions are on Thursday. If you have a current obsession, you can send it in now.
What a rule maker over there.
We will hold on to it and play it this coming Thursday when we have all of our current
Let me say
obsessions.
this. Alex said, talking about new TV shows, Netflix's Nobody Wants This, about the cute rabbi.
Yes.
Oh, is season 2 out?
Season 2 just dropped.
Oh, I like that.
Or is about to. And did you know that the producer of that show is from Bel Air, right here in Houston?
Yes, because you told me
I played
that.
pickleball with his mom.
Well, get her on the show.
I've tried, and you know what? Netflix is very strict about interviews with the media.
Oh.
So I've tried to get him on, but
we're not the media.
because he'll
We're
be
your
here for
midday
Thanksgiving.
friends.
No, he'll be here for Thanksgiving. I'm like, well, let's get him on for Thanksgiving. Nope, can't do it. But maybe we could get one of the stars on. Maybe they were on the Today Show. Adam Brody was on the Today Show this morning. I know. NBC.
I'm not the only one who had a lot of caffeine today, as you can tell.
You know what? We're going to jump into the headlines.
Thank you.
Do it.
Less than a day after Houston City Crews removed Montrose's rainbow crosswalks, protesters brought the colors back. And the debate over the new symbols' meaning is only growing louder. Overnight and early Tuesday morning, residents returned to the intersection of Westheimer and Taft, repainting the sections of the area in rainbow hues and spray painting messages. After the crosswalk was removed yesterday, local officials spoke out. Harris County Commissioner of Precinct 4, Leslie Briones, said, "I am deeply disappointed by the decision to remove Texas's first Pride crosswalk, a symbol of safety, unity, equality, and respect in historic Montrose." Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo also placed blame on Metro, questioning why the agency's board of directors wasn't involved. She said, "The community deserves to know who made the final decision to remove the crosswalk, why the decision was not put up for a board vote, and what other options we could have pursued instead of instant removal."
Thank you, Judge Hidalgo.
What are your thoughts? Should the fight continue to preserve the crosswalks, or are there bigger issues that affect the LGBTQ plus community to focus on? Now is the time to send us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870.
There are no bigger issues than the government trying to make you invisible. There's no bigger issue. Is there a bigger issue for a community than when the government tries to make you invisible? I can't think of for a community. I know there are bigger issues in our lives, and this on the surface of it, it's just a crosswalk. But when the ultimate goal is to wipe out your pride and your community, there is no bigger issue. That's like saying now you can't have a pride parade. Now you can't get married to the person that you love. We start with the crosswalks because that's easy, paint over them. And then we start going to the courts and taking away rights. So no, there's no bigger issue.
Just to clarify a point in your story, I think you said it, but I just want to clarify that when you said people returned the rainbow colors, that they did that on the sidewalks, the little ramps leading into the street, not actually on the street itself, from what I saw from the story, just so people understand that. So they weren't, the people that gathered were not painting on. They may have chalked the street, but I know they were spray painting the little sidewalky, rampy things. Because that's what the video story I saw showed. Not that you said it, they did anything else, but I'm just clarifying so people gather that. The concern I have with it is the cost it takes to remove something. I can see them saying, okay, we shouldn't be using taxpayer money to get different organizations' opinions out on our public roadways. Okay. Except it's costing money to remove them. So that kind of flies in the face. And if they say it's for security, studies have shown that having the rainbow crosswalks or the rainbow there did prevent accidents, so that it's for security. So all of the arguments they're making for removing them don't make sense. If you want to say no more funding, use public funds, okay, then just leave them alone.
Right.
And
doesn't cost you any money.
And
to
it's
leave it alone.
multifaceted, right? Because I also think that if you're looking at it just from a perspective of Houston identity and culture, Montrose is historically known as being a safe area for this community.
The neighborhood.
It represents something that has a long-standing history. From a financial standpoint, it's not smart. It's fiscally irresponsible to be putting things up and putting things down. You know, you're taking away people that could be working on other areas of other streets that actually need
fix the potholes.
repairing.
Don't tear up something that's already there.
And I also just ask myself, why?
I know, because they want to make us invisible. That's why.
Why?
713-440-8870. We all gave that
And
number
the ones
together.
in Galveston, I know we're going to go to a Galveston call here from Joan. The ones in Galveston were privately funded by a group of friends of mine that I know. I know several of those gentlemen that funded this. Now, they admitted it was expensive to keep it going, but they were willing to do it.
Let's find out what Joan has to say. Joan, what's on your mind?
So, yes, I know about the crosswalk in Galveston, and it was destroyed a couple weeks ago. But my big concern is that right now we have all these political signs up for candidates in Galveston County, and they're not on the ballot. And so I looked up the law, and I think it's the rule. It's supposed to be 90 days for the election, and so primary candidates, I'm not going to say which party, have them up. And so that's a distraction. Every quarter mile, there's these huge signs right in front of HEB, right on the highway. And so I'm pretty passionate about, let's be fair.
Right.
And it doesn't feel fair that we've got all these signs. Now, yes, they're paid for by these candidates or their campaign fund, but they're breaking the rule. And when I called Galveston County, they said there's nothing they can do to enforce it. So I'm going to spend the next couple of days calling each office and saying, why are you confusing the voters?
Yeah,
Joan, give us a call back after you do that. I'd love to hear their response.
And you only have 10 days to get them down after the election. And they just leave them there, littering the side of the road. And to Joan's point, a sign does require your brain. You have to read it. You have to interpolate it. You have to make sense of it. It is much more distracting than a rainbow color on the street.
Right.
Thank you, Joan, for that. 713-440-8870. Davis is up next. Davis, what's on your mind?
Hello, Houston. Thank you for covering this. I helped organize a couple of the Pride Chalk on the Sidewalk events on the intersection, really inspired by a lot of community ideas. Frank, you talked about chalk a lot as well, and so I called in to promote it. For me, my primary concern with Mayor Whitmire, Mayor Quitmire, or Metro Board is that the Governor Abbott gave 30 days to follow and comply with the order, and Metro Whitmire gave us 12 days. And within those 12 days, we had 2 community rallies, 2 Pride Chalk on the Sidewalk events. We had a press conference with every major elected official in Houston, well, except for the mayor. He didn't show up. And so could you imagine what we could have done in 30 days? We could have had a vigil to commemorate not only our community, but also Alex Hill. We could have done so much. So they cut it down in 12 days days before their board meeting. We could have talked about this.
Yeah. That's what happens when they want to wipe you out, Davis. That's what's called wipeout.
Davis, thank you for your comments on that. 713-440-8870. We're interested in all of the community and what they have to say. Let's go to Hassan. Hassan is on the line from Katy. Hassan, what are you thinking?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I just think it opens up a can of worms because if you allow one party to do something, then other people are going to push the boundaries. And, you could end up with some really nasty, really tacky stuff. And the rules have to apply for everyone, regardless of whether you agree with what's being written or not.
Right. Hassan, I'm curious, though. The Rainbow Crosswalk has been up since, I think we said, 2017. Have you seen any other groups overreacting to the presence of that rainbow flag that led to what you're concerned with?
No. I worked in the Heights, and I worked in Montrose in a couple of hospitals there. And, I never saw any problems. I don't have a problem with it, but I think you open up the can of worms. I think if someone wants to put swastikas or something very horrible, if they want to put something horrible or sexual stuff,
right?
You open yourself up to lawsuits. And I think the rules are the rules, and you just have to go with them. And the way they did it probably wasn't the right way to allow it to be there for 7 years or 8 years. And
Yeah. Hassan, thank you for your comments.
Well, there's concern about the Black Lives Matters artwork that's being removed from the Third Ward.
Right.
Because it could be construed as, I think the community wants it there. And I think they're concerned about it being removed, and it shouldn't be removed. But again, who knows what will happen. If you go with Hassan here, rules are rules, and everybody abides by them. Nobody gets to put anything on the streets because you don't want to chance a swastika or a KKK or some sort of really controversial thing. But to your point, Ernie, it's been there almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And there's never been any controversy at all about it. In fact, it's inspired so many communities across the country to do exactly the same thing without any controversy.
Yeah. 713, keep giving that number, 440-8870. Let's go to Charles from the Woodlands. Charles, what's on your mind?
Yeah, this is what fascism looks like. They want to silence any kind of dissent. And gay is not political. It is biological. And the pride flag doesn't represent anything political. It just represents people deciding to face up to reality in their own individuality. That's all I got to say.
Charles, thanks you for that.
Fair enough. Well, let's not forget, Jesse Jackson was the first with the Rainbow Coalition.
Rainbow Coalition.
With the rainbow as a symbol of bringing all colors together. That was his whole point. I don't know when and where it became more of a gay symbol, but it's never been anything but a peaceful symbol. I'll never forget going up to the Gay Pride Parade in 2015 when gay marriage passed the same day. And there was a rainbow literally. It had rained that day. There was a rainbow literally into downtown.
Yep, I remember that day.
Yep.
And again, 713-440-8870. We did receive a text from Jen. This is Jen in Clear Lake, and I don't see why rainbows should be controversial. Pride should be bipartisan, and rainbows are just cool.
They are cool.
Well,
they're of God if you believe in God. They're in nature if you believe in nature.
I do believe we actually have Jen on the line from
Jen,
Clear
are
Lake.
you on the
Jen,
line
is
from
this
Clear
the
Lake?
same Jen?
I am. I'm sorry. I just had to tell you this. Like, Frank, you are seen. Whatever happens with these crosswalks, you are seen. And the neighborhood, like even out here in the boonies in Clear Lake, we love you guys. That's not going away no matter what Greg Abbott says or what happens with these crosswalks.
Jen,
Thanks,
thank you
Jen.
for that.
And again, it's one of those things where people are having the conversation, and it's important to be having the conversation.
Right. I can see the argument that you don't want to use taxpayer money to put something on public roadways that may favor a particular group. Now, what we have here is not that situation. Local community raised money. They worked with local facilities because it was that neighborhood to express the thoughts, concerns, care of a neighborhood, just like when you talk about the Black Lives Matter in another neighborhood where that's part of that community and they want that representation. I don't know why both can't exist. You cannot use federal or statewide funds, if that's the case, to push a particular ideology or identity or gender or whatever. But why can't anyone else do it
and
too?
It's interesting also, like we think about culturally neighborhoods, and I think about one thing that's very Houston culturally known is the beer can house.
Right.
And then, somebody might say, well, that's promoting alcohol and alcoholism, and we have children that walk by here.
Again,
and
the
they
difference
might
on private property.
Right, but it's still the
not
point that
public
there
roadways.
are nuances and there are cultural charm and things that,
And back in Chicago, and what is often referred to as Boys Town, the neighborhood out there, they put up these rainbow monuments on Halstead Street. And they have become, like you said, tourist attractions. The Halstead Market Days takes place there. People get their pictures taken by these all the time. It becomes a symbol of that community in that city, as did the rainbow crosswalks here. So if somebody can show us the negative, the downside of having those, please share that with us too, because I'm missing the point of why you need to move quickly and pull it up. 713-440-8870. Kevin from Eastwood is on the line. Kevin, what do you think?
Hi, I would like to point out, so let me rewind just a second.
Okay.
I work in adult learning, and in adult learning, one of the things that's important is novelty, because novelty drives engagement. And I would argue the point that a novel street marking, as long as it is not distracting from directionality, draws attention and makes things a little bit safer. And if the objective is truly safety, then why are we not also being mandated to address all of the faded crosswalks, the missing street signs, the missing street striping, and stop lines? And that, to me, there's a lot of those issues that exist in the city that are more important to safety, as well as very well known risky highways and risky intersections. Why aren't those being addressed if we're really truly pursuing for safety?
Yeah.
This just feels like a political grab.
Kevin, to your point, I was on Drexel off of Richmond, between Richmond and Westheimer the other day, and I would say out of 5 speed bumps, 3 of them, the stripes are so faded, you didn't know the speed bump was there. And if you're driving along at a normal 25, 30 mile an hour speed and you hit a speed bump and don't realize it's there, it can be dangerous if you have a 3-year-old in the back seat, right? Am I right?
And Colleen from the Greater Heights is on the line. Colleen, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi there. Thanks for taking the call. My comment, my actual name is Pauline, and my comment is drop it. I would really like to have my local radio station focus on issues that are going on with city council, issues at our local state government, issues at the national. I just don't care about a crosswalk.
Why not?
Painted or not painted.
Why don't you care about your parts of your community being wiped out by the government?
My community's not being wiped out by the government. It's a crosswalk. Montrose is Montrose. I don't believe that anyone that is homosexual or transgender is impacted whether or not they see a rainbow crosswalk.
It's a symbol of their community that's being demolished.
Community is their symbol. Their community is their community. I mean, I would argue that Montrose is not even what Montrose once was.
I could argue that.
It's quite gentrified now anyway.
Let me ask you this question.
It's not quite the quaint neighborhood it used to be. Affordable, funky, fun. It's just boring now as far as I'm concerned.
Let me ask you a quick question, though. So I see where you're going, and I understand what you're saying. So to be cost effective, to be actually responsible to our government, to our people, and our tax dollars, why not just leave it there then and let it just fade over time and disappear? They're spending money to remove something. They're making an effort to remove it as opposed to just letting it go away.
Yeah, I'm not tickled about how our government is choosing to spend money or not spend money.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. I don't think they need to be touched, but I don't think it's worthy of this radio station or this program right now. So I've turned off the program. I'm making my comment. I also vote with my dollars. I no longer give to public media because I am tired of you guys focusing on the 1%. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for that. And because of your support and others like you, you had a place to have that voice heard. And as we're noticing today, we are having a lot of engagement from our listeners. So there are people in the community that do think this is worth the conversation. And let's hear from Eric right now in the 3rd Ward.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. I would completely disagree with Pauline. I think this is what's going on with the removal of the rainbow is targeted aggression. We are simultaneously being told we have to have the 10 Commandments in schools, which is a religion which is pushing an agenda while saying, hey, the government can't push any agenda, therefore we need to remove the rainbow symbols. So do not sit here and tell us that this does not matter because it's microaggressions on a large scale. That's my comment.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for that. 713-440-8870.
Let's go to William from Cyprus.
Hello.
Hello, William.
Hi. I wanted y'all to, for the listening audience, if you could take 30 minutes out and read the Wikipedia entry for Project 2025, you'll see that there's a clearly defined agenda that any identity thinking should be removed because that's the easiest way to marginalize groups. We want to remove human rights from the transgendered. We want to remove black rights. We want to remove civil rights. We want to remove voting rights. All of this was written out 2 years ago, so they're just doing what they. None of this is new. Some of this is 5 years old, and that's the reason why they're doing it so aggressively, because the point of Project 25 was to do so many things so quickly that the communities couldn't focus on anything individual. We're just in this rage cycle because every time we turn around, they're doing something else that's illegal, and you can't pay attention to anything because what's being said is absolutely true. We're going to disappear everything that's not a white male.
William, thank you for that comment, and thanks to everyone who engaged with us.
William was right as rain. Take it from the weatherman.
There was one comment online I want to read quickly. It said, if you see a pothole, paint a rainbow in it. The street will fix it or the state will fix it overnight. There you go.
And coming up on Hello Houston, University of Houston political science professor and party politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus breaks down the amendment process in the latest episode of Texperts. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Bob Maniger from the Ed and Jean Matthews Foundation. PBS has been a part of our family for generations, and we are proud supporters of Houston Public Media. From PBS Kids programming that supports children and their parents to PBS NewsHour that we rely on to learn about what's going on in our world. Your support keeps PBS available for our community across Greater Houston. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Number C. Parole board hearings are this weird backwater of the judicial system that doesn't get a lot of scrutiny. This week, we listen in as board members discuss one case. We see people get persuaded as they try to adjudicate these very squishy, nearly impossible questions, like when is a person rehabilitated? What is justice? That's this week.
This is American Life, Wednesday night at 9 p.m.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, as one of the three co-equal branches of government, the judiciary plays a vital role in the balance of power in the United States. But a near record number of Americans are concerned that the Supreme Court is influenced more by ideology than by the Constitution or impartial judgment. So do you trust the Supreme Court to be fair? And if not, what can be done to restore your trust? We're taking your calls next time on The Middle.
Thursday night at 8.
When we recycle or bike to work, we feel like we're doing something good for the world. But are we really?
It's a weird sort of realization to come to that our tiny little actions are even less effective than they seem.
A philosopher on how we should think about our everyday choices when our actions are just a drop in the bucket. That's next time on Think.
Listen tonight, it's on at 10 o'clock.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Texas has one of the largest and longest state constitutions in the country, and the big reason why? It's easy to amend. Since 1876, lawmakers have proposed over 700 amendments, and more than 500 of those have been approved by voters. Each November, Texans get a rare opportunity to affect policy directly by voting yes or no to amendments. These changes can cover billions of dollars in state investment, major tax breaks to businesses and individuals, and even banning certain kinds of taxes altogether in the future. In the newest episode of Texperts, University of Houston political science professor and party politics co-host Brandon Rottinghaus breaks down the amendment process and discusses the importance of these amendments to Texas. So, without further ado, here is Texperts.
Welcome to Texperts, Houston Public Media's short primers on Texas government. I'm Brandon Rottinghaus, a political science professor at the University of Houston. Today, we're rolling back the clock to one of the most consequential and long-lasting moments in Texas governance, the writing of the Texas Constitution of 1876. This dusty old document still shapes your daily life, from taxes and roads to whether a rodeo can run a charity raffle. Buckle up. This is a wild ride through limited government, dueling delegates, and a whole lot of amendments. Picture Texas in the 1870s. Reconstruction is winding down. Texans are fuming over what they see as big government under Governor Edmund Davis and the Republican-led Constitution of 1869. Centralized power, extensive programs, and a sprawling bureaucracy. Enter a wave of Democrats and disillusioned Republicans led by Governor Richard Koch, calling for a new constitution to rein in government and return to what they call frugal freedom. But the delegates don't start from scratch. They dust off the old Constitution of 1845 and use it as a blueprint for smaller, cheaper, weaker government. The Constitution of 1876 is born. Fast forward nearly 150 years. Texans still live under that same Constitution, but with a twist. Because the 1876 version makes government so limited, anytime the state needs to take on a new power, from building highways to expanding universities, it has to go back to the people for an amendment. Since 1876, lawmakers have proposed 714 amendments and voters have approved 530. Some years, they only squeak through. Other years, like 2001, Texans passed 20 in one go, mostly cleanup items from moving clauses around or deleting outdated language. And sometimes the changes are surprisingly small. Every little change in municipal taxation or local authority needs to be codified in the state's constitution. In 2021, voters approved an amendment letting sports teams' charities run raffles at radio. Yes, even that required a constitutional change. Here's the playbook. 2/3 of both houses of the Texas legislature must propose an amendment. No governor's signature is needed. The Attorney General and Secretary of State sign off. It gets advertised statewide. Then voters give a thumbs up or thumbs down at the ballot box. On average, 3 of 4 proposed amendments pass. Texans especially like bond issues. Those pass 89% of the time. And, of course, tax cuts, which sail through at 68% of the time. But ask voters to mess with the structure of the government, say a bigger Supreme Court or longer legislative sessions, and only 38% approve. Turnout for these elections, pretty low. Sometimes only a few percentage of voters show up, especially if the vote isn't tied to a big general election. This is especially true when the issues are narrow or procedural, making them difficult for most voters to understand. The content of wording of the proposed amendments can be confusing. The information about the proposals is often minimal, and only habitual voters are likely to show up and understand what the proposed amendments would do. And the amendments often sit on the very end of the ballot, so you have to wade through everything else to find them. No wonder people skip them. But when an issue hits home, like the 2025 amendment defining marriage or the 2019 proposition to fund flood control projects, Texans turn out. In effect, constitutional amendments become a mini referendums on hot topics. It's one of the few ways that Texans have to have a direct say on policy. Lawmakers like it that way. They can punt controversial issues to voters instead of taking the heat themselves. So why does Texas have such a patchwork constitution full of oddities, from bans on dueling to rodeo raffles? Because in 1876, Texans hardwired limited government into the state's DNA. Every expansion of power since then has required a popular vote, creating a uniquely hands-on but sometimes cumbersome system. On this episode of Texperts, we talk to an expert who knows a little something about how to put these amendments on a ballot. Alicia Pierce, welcome to Texperts.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So you are the communications director for the Secretary of State, and obviously you have a significant role in explaining these constitutional amendments to the public. The first question is, how does the Secretary of State's office coordinate with the legislature once it votes to place an amendment on the ballot?
Yeah, so as we're going through session and we're seeing, what joint resolutions there are, and that's how, an amendment comes onto the ballot, is it has to be passed through a joint resolution of 2/3 of each house. And so we're watching that throughout the session, kind of keeping tabs on what looks like maybe coming down the pike. And then, after session, we have a chance to see what is actually passed, what has gone through, and we prepare that final list of the constitutional amendments and what will be on the ballot. And at that point, one of the things we have to do is you have these joint resolutions, they have a bill number, or I guess this case in a resolution number. And so we then have to assign it a proposition number. So how are people going to identify these? How are they going to vote on them? So one of the things we do is that we have a drawing to determine the order for these propositions, right? So because you have to have some sort of way to identify it. They're not a candidate. They don't have a name. This is how we establish that.
That's such an interesting point. Yeah, because in theory, voters are getting tired at some point, and we have a lot of what we call roll off. And so people stop voting at some point. So the random order probably helps at least to have it in a more kind of fair way.
I was going to say, in that way, no one can say like, oh, I have number one, and that is, the best position, or I have the last one, and that's the best position. It is all completely random.
Well, one thing that's not random is that the legislative language has to be translated into a kind of less legalese, less legislative, and more contextual for people. How does the Secretary of State's office create this official explanatory statement for each of the amendments?
Yeah, so we look at the statements. Some statements are obviously easier than others. Some of them are harder than others. We try to present them in as plain language as possible. Now, of course, these are complex legal matters. Remember, the Texas Constitution has been amended more than 500 times, right? And that's because it's highly prescriptive, and it's the second longest state constitution in the U.S. So there's a lot of details and a lot of precision that has to be used in that language. So we try to make it as clear as possible, explaining what the proposition does. And you give that plain language explanation. Sometimes I think people read that and they still don't know. Right. Like they've read the ballot language, they read the proposition, they may still not, or the explanatory statement, they may still not know. And we try to encourage people to also look at a publication from Legislative Counsel, which is an analysis of those amendments. And the great thing about that is it gives you background, like where did this amendment come from? And then it gives you a summary of the opposition and the supporters, like how they testified on that joint resolution. And so that's kind of another step that people can look to when they're trying to figure out, well, what does this particular proposition happen to mean?
Interesting. Are there efforts made to try to make it more plain language because it is sort of complicated? Do you read it to friends, family? Do you all internally debate what it should sound like just to make sure that it comes out in the way that you intend it to?
Sure. So, our lawyers, and it is a legal document, right? It's a legal effort. And they are obviously looking at it, and they deal with election language often. They're of course looking at what the law precisely says, how it affects the other parts of it. And it tries to use the plain language, maybe not use a Latin statement, right? Like a very technical term, if you can sub in something that's easier. But again, we have to be so careful, and it's such a short amount that you might also want to supplement it with some of that additional explanatory statements.
Totally.
Also, a lot of times people look to different groups or coalitions, right, to help them understand it. Like they may be a member of a trade union or an association that has an interest in those. And so they can kind of look at how some of the people who are affected by it are explaining those amendments.
Yeah, as you said, the Constitution in Texas has been amended more than 500 times. What are some of the lessons you've learned about best practices in terms of crafting these, in terms of communicating them to voters, and in terms of trying to get people to come out to vote for them?
Yeah, so our role with the Secretary of State being the chief election officer of the state, she has to be very careful how she's ever talking about these. So, we're not here talking about the individual amendments. We're not talking about any kind of policy statements. But even then, we have to be careful for any election about how we're promoting and sharing that. So it never looks like we're biased one way or the other.
Right.
So it just has some limits on us, but there are some things we can do. So one of them is holding that constitutional amendment drawing where we're determining the proposition order early, right? So doing that gives groups and people who are vested in the outcome of these propositions, it gives them time to kind of say like, hey, this is proposition 1 or this is proposition 5. This is what you need to know about it, right? So doing that early as possible is important. That can be tricky because if there's special sessions going on, right? Like, is there going to be another joint resolution coming? So we're checking calendars and we're looking at a number of factors there. We do, as the law prescribes, translate the propositions into Spanish. So that is an effort there. And just like many elections, we also by law provide materials in Spanish that help facilitate voting on that side.
Interesting. Yeah, and Texas is a booming state. We've got a tremendous amount of diversity. That's a good thing, but it's also complicated because it also means that people may not know about these amendments, and turning out in an off-cycle election is something that Texas is not so good at. So what are some efforts in terms of innovation that the office has taken to try to increase voter information or awareness about these amendments?
Yeah, I think it's something that's done in partnership because of our role as the Chief Elections Officer. What we can provide is we can provide the logistical information, right? So I will say it until I'm blue in the face, votetexas.gov, right? It's the official online source of information. So then we're going to have information about the election, important dates for people to know, right? When does early voting start? When's the last day to register? So, when do you have to apply for a ballot by mail? What are those 17 proposed constitutional amendments? There's links to those. So that is part of it, having that side where we're talking about logistics and getting that information out. On the other side are the people who, in a campaign for a political role, you've got candidates who are out there mobilizing. What we see here is there's no one's name on the ballot, right? It's an idea as opposed to a person. And so you may have, special interest groups, you may have a trade union, you may have labor unions, all sorts of different groups that come together who can help educate people about those amendments and get the word out. And that's an important partnership because we're limited in our role, but we can make sure that we have the most authoritative information about the process and the logistics of getting to the polls.
Alicia Pierce, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to Texperts, and thanks to everybody, cast and crew here at Houston Public Media for making it happen.
You just heard Brandon Rottinghaus, a University of Houston political science professor and co-host of Houston Public Media's Party Politics. He spoke with Alicia Pierce, the Assistant Secretary of State for Communications at the Texas Secretary of State office. This latest episode of Texperts and previous episodes are all available to listen to now on our website. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and search Texperts. Coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to learn more about Asia Society's Texas latest exhibition, House of Pikachu. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Hi, I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have been proud supporters of public radio and TV for decades.
We really would be lost without our daily fix of unbiased national and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
Place coming up tonight at 6:30.
Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. I'm Ernie Manous. Join me along with politics and government reporter Andrew Schneider for live special coverage with results from local and statewide elections. In Harris County, a congressional seat and a city council seat are up for consideration, as well as 17 state constitutional amendments, many involving taxes. Special coverage begins Tuesday, November 4th at 8 p.m. on News 88.7 and online at houstonpublicmedia.org.
A new study out of Europe finds that cannabis oil is as effective as opioids when it comes to back pain. This news was welcomed by scientists in the U.S., but the maker of the cannabis product says it will take years for patients to get access.
If the FDA wants to speed up the process, we could immediately speed up the process. We are ready.
The marvels of cannabis oil on All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's coming up at 3 o'clock today.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, highlighting fall events and festivals, including Island Oktoberfest, celebrating German culture, Arttoberfest, showcasing the island's fine arts, and more. Details at visitgalveston.com.
Support comes from the Houston Ballet, presenting Stanton Welch's The Nutcracker, a holiday tradition. Clara and the Characters, intricate sets, and new discoveries return to the Wortham November 28th to December 28th. Tickets at houstonballet.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
All right, a brand new exhibition at Asia Society, Texas, is inviting visitors into a colorful cross-cultural universe where anime meets contemporary art. The House of Pikachu, Art, Anime, and Pop Culture features 25 artists from around the world exploring how Japanese art and animation has shaped everything from painting to pop identity. The show blends nostalgia with high art, from Astro Boy and Dragon Ball to the beautiful and immaculate work of animator Yoshitaka Amano. We're joined now by Owen Duffy, the curator of the exhibition and director of exhibitions at Asia Society, Texas, and by Gao Hang, whose work is on view in the show. Gao from China.
Thank you.
Okay, so welcome to Hello Houston. This is a Japanese focus. This is all kind of your wheelhouse?
Yeah. Can you define what is wheelhouse?
Well,
your area of expertise.
Yes.
Wow, that's a new word. I'm happy to learn new words every time. My wheelhouse. So my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in China. We Japanese culture, especially for animations, they are the main influence to us, our generation. Actually, all of the great, including the Pikachu animation, they got cut off around 2000, early 2000. It just cuts off. So it just basically just our generation. We got to see all the greatest Japanese animations. So yeah, so I'm really great to participate in the show with my work, and Owen found me and then commissioned me to do 2 works for the show. I chose 2 of my favorite shows. One is Pikachu, the other one is Ultraman. But Ultraman, yeah. So, yeah.
Owen, as the curator of the exhibition and director of exhibitions at the Asia Society Texas, what made you or inspired you or think of Pikachu, the House of Pikachu?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So for me as a curator, what I'm looking for is trying to find out what would be an incredibly relevant show to our times and our audiences. And for me, I was, reflecting back on my childhood, and I realized that I was, as a, we can say a nerd. I was enraptured by the worlds of Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, and video games, and so on. And then as I was looking around, and always, part of my job is, of course, to keep tabs on what's happening in the art world, I realized that I wasn't the only one. There actually were a lot of other artists who were inspired by anime in their work, and also a lot of these artists weren't exclusively Japanese, right? Because anime, of course, is a Japanese cultural export. And for me, I felt like it was time, in Houston's such a global city, that it made sense to look at it from a cross-cultural perspective, to show just how global anime's become.
And either of you, Go or Owen, can answer this, talking about understanding what anime, how you define anime. And no, of course, abbreviation of animation, but it's its own very unique style that maybe some people in our audience don't recognize that's what you're referring to when you say anime.
Yeah, and I mean, anime is usually shorthand for Japanese animation, right? It would be the word that's used in Japan to describe animation. And it's something that is often characterized by a sense of boldness, bold colors. There's flatness, very saturation. There's oftentimes stylized features that you see a lot. Large eyes are one of those things. And they lend themselves, of course, to visual culture across the spectrum. So fashion, art, and so on.
Is it safe to say it's our generation's pop art, like the 60s pop art movement? Is that what anime is to this generation in some way?
I think, because Japanese started to make animations. They are inspired by early 2000, early 20th century American animation cartoons, and then around the mid 20th century, they start to make their own established, mature styled Japanese styled cartoons. So around that time, of course, pop art is around mid 20th century to late 20th century.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's kind of also interesting about that is anime as a art form, right, and as a form of popular culture emerged in the middle of 20th century as Japan's was really recovering from World War II.
Yeah.
And so it sort of mirrors that. And I think it's definitely, as a curator, I'd also say that a lot of artists are, seeing that as a kind of important source of pop culture that art is really tapping into and mining in different ways.
And
I think so, yeah.
Gao, when we think of anime, it's so incredible how it can have very mature themes, and yet there are children also that love Pikachu. And so, you as an artist, how do you translate? What speaks to you? More of the mature aspect of it, or do you find that you kind of like the more lighthearted areas of anime and art?
Back then, when I was a kid. By the way, you have a beautiful voice. That's
thank you.
That's incredible. Anyways,
what's wrong with mine?
Yeah.
A lot of people love my voice.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I think it's more about their. I think it's just spirits in terms of like they are always animations. Is different from what both Japanese animations and American cartoons and movies, they are all saving the world for some reason. But Japanese characters, they are always teenagers and kids. And then that sort of taught us how to overcome hardness and then overcome stuff when we are kids. So that helps us a lot. And then they're always happy in a way. They're always making jokes. They are always happy. They are cute. And that really just speaks to us back then around our age, and then that encouraged us to overcome certain things in life back then, I think.
Yeah. So a lot of the anime I've seen, the video anime, right?
Yeah.
You said cartoons, but I don't know what you call it. But it's a lot of noise. I know. I mean, it was screaming, and is that like because it's universal? That do people who watch this, do they all kind of understand that what the characters are doing?
Interesting point. I don't even. All right. I think Japanese. I think it's their way to express what is cute, what is kawaii. It's how they define that. It's by speaking like that. It's by stay like that.
It's kind of like that style, right?
Yeah.
Like the stylization of the sounds of it are unique.
Also the language, I think for Japanese language, I think it's their version of how to express I'm innocent.
But it's an important part of it.
Exactly.
I mean, the voice actors that do that are very popular.
Right. Yeah.
Now, Owen, you were saying how there are 25 different artists that will be presenting and showcasing their art, and there are 3 from Houston.
Yeah, there are 3 from Houston.
What was the process of picking the different artists?
I mean, it's really fun. For me, it's one of my favorite parts of the job is to identify artists, start building relationships with them, and then hopefully collaborate with them on an actual project. So for me, it involves one of my favorite things to do is, of course, the studio visit where I go and visit artists. And actually, the first time I moved to Houston about 3 years ago, and after being here for a year, I always try to keep my tabs on who are the really amazing artists here in Houston, and we try to involve them in projects whenever possible because Houston's a global city. And I realized I was actually in Beijing, and I was doing a studio visit with an artist named Gao Ludi, and he asked me where I was from, and I said, Houston. He's like, Houston? One of my friends is there. And I'm like, oh, really? Who? And it turns out it was Gao Hang. And I knew Gao's work, but I didn't realize he was in Houston, which was kind of amazing. So I reached out. Gao has a studio in Sugar Land, and we did a studio visit. I didn't necessarily have... I had the idea that I was going to be working on this show, about a year and a half or so later. And Gao was kind enough to participate. So it's this kind of continual research process, trying to maintain files and remember all the artists that you see so that when the right project comes up, you just, have a perfect fit.
And 25 artists in this show.
Yes, 25
That's
artists.
Big.
And they're from, it's large. We have about a 4,000 square foot gallery at Asia Society, Texas.
Wow. Yep.
It's beautiful. It was designed by Yoshio Taniguchi, who is a late Japanese architect. It's his only freestanding building in the United States. And he designed another very famous building that many people know, and it's MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art in New York.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous space. And we have a great cafe too, so you can get a snack while you're in show. And you always, art viewing requires lots of sustenance. So this exhibition, it's quite large. There's about 5 different sections to it that cover different aspects of art's relationship with anime. And the artists, one of the things I think is really unique is the artists are actually come from all over the world. So there are quite a lot of Japanese artists in the show because that's the origins a lot of times of contemporary art working with anime. But of course, Gao was born in China. We have an artist in the show who actually is a Brazilian artist of Japanese descent.
Beautiful.
We also have an artist who grew up between Washington, D.C. and Cote d'Ivoire, which is really interesting to see where did anime really reach people and where did it change them.
Well, in Houston, it's going to reach you at the Asia Society.
Yes. Owen Duffy is the director of exhibitions at Asia Society Texas, and Gao Hang is a Houston-based artist whose work is on view at House of Pikachu. You can visit the exhibition through March 15th, 2026. Owen and Gao, thank you both for being here on Hello Houston.
Thank you. Thank you. It was our pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for watching and listening to Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. This is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altine, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Your NPR station, KUHF, Houston, a service of the University of Houston.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
From NPR and WBUR Boston, I'm Jane Clayson.
I'm Peter